Hey everybody, Dan here for Comic Frontline. It is time for another indie haul. We have a rather large stack of books to get to. Uh, let's just get right into it. This is hot out of the mail. Pneumatic Cases number 1. You might have seen on my last indie haul, I had a number of books from last Ember Press. And this one I did not have, so got on the horn with Brent to make sure that I was able to read the story in its entirety. This book is by John Wilson. Some of you might have been listening in to see that Zone 4 podcast is ending, and John Wilson was part of that podcast for a long time. I think I actually met John years ago with Chuck Moore at, there was a number of conventions where I saw them. I know in PA, in Comic Geek Speak convention, I saw them at one point, a couple shows, but they were actually early Zone 4 host. Took it out of the bag so you could see. Pneumatic Cases is somewhat of a steampunk adventure, because I know John was into that. He always liked to give a little look-see at interior art to show you what you're in for. Art and colors both look good. Let's see if there's John Wilson, creator and writer. Raral Roke, art and cover. Lisa Moore, colors. Brant Fowler, letters, book and logo design. Lisa Moore and Brant Fowler, edits. That's your creative team for this book. And as I said, it looks like a steampunk adventure. So I now have issues 1 and 2. And I'll have to give them a read to give my thoughts on them. John was always out there giving reviews of various comics. Sometimes he's a little bit of a tougher critic, as some may know. But now it's his chance to be on the hot seat and see what everyone thinks of his book. All right. A artist who did, I believe, Argo 5 number 15. Okay, Pal Rodrix. He had a sketchbook. Okay, really love his work, which is why I hired him to do Argo 5 number 15. Did a cover for Sorority of Power number 12, I believe. No, 13. 13, I think it was. And his artwork is really spectacular. And I had gotten a sketch on the inside cover there of one of my characters, Pink Puma, who will be appearing in an upcoming book. I might have hinted around at her online here and there, so some people may have seen that character a little bit. But as many may know, I'm not big on promoting for a year before something comes out. I rather promote when I'm actually putting the things out for Argo Comics. So, well, when that comes out, I'll be actually going into more detail about it. But as far as Pal's work is concerned, he has a really nice Colossus versus Juggernaut. I think I first became aware of Pal's work, maybe War Goddess for Avatar comics he was doing. and really phenomenal work and covers for that. So in that respect, uh, again, I've been a supporter of his. A couple of prints he popped in there. We got Superman. Unfortunately, the new 52. I require red trunks for my Superman, but nonetheless, spectacular art. And here's a Harley Quinn print, okay, that were thrown in with the book. Really great to get that. Talking of great artists, another longtime friend of mine, actually from conventions years and years back, Jonboy Meyers. Okay, he had a Kickstarter where he put out this sketchbook. It's a hardcover, comes in a slipcase. I'm not always a big fan of hardcovers, but Jonboy's work, I mean, people who actually Marvel and DC have seen his work by now, way back, before he was published in a ton of stuff is actually when I met him. And actually, I do have a few pinup pieces for Argo Comics from him. But fans these days will know him probably from Titans, Spawn, and I think he did Inhumans with Marvel. Okay, so actually here's an Inhumans piece right here. Black Bolt and Medusa and all them. Some of the art pieces have this kind of color with a black and white strip, I guess kind of showing you process to some degree. I kind of would have preferred just like full color pages. But the ones that are full color are really spectacular. He also gives you a look into his design work. Pull out some more. Here's some more various costumes designed for the Titans when he was running, drawing that comic rather. So you got that. Came in this slipcase. Got a little, I think this is just a mini print of the cover. I'll pop it out to make sure. Yeah, it's like a little mini print of the cover. Came with it. We have this Flash sticker kind of drawn. Let me get it out to show you. Kind of drawn in like a chibi style Flash. He also had a same thing with Batman as a magnet, and that's already on my fridge. So I don't have that here, but that's a pretty cool style as well, the way he did those. Actually, Dave Jackson on JAXON has been doing chibis on independent characters on Facebook. He did one actually of my character, another upcoming character, Weirdo, that I haven't promoted much yet. But yeah, he's been doing some great ones of those characters as part of the Team Up in Time Space Kickstarter, which I participated in. Talking about Kickstarters I participated in, a lot of Kickstarters came in, I guess, recently. Heroes of the Golden Age reference guide. I do, again, another Argo Comics thing I have in the works is a public domain character. Again, I'm not really into promoting a load about that until something more solid is done. But I got 2 volumes of that. Temporal Comics. Chris Malgrain's doing the art in these, and people might have seen me touting his books, Formidables. He's been doing coming out by Red Anvil Press. So I really love his work. He actually, again, did a cover for Argo 5. Let me think. He did the variant cover, Argo 5. I'm going to say number 29. It's a little jumbled in my head. If you go to Indie Planet and you're looking at the Argo 5 issues, sometimes where you got the choice of printed, you also can click on that tab, drop down menu, you'll have printed, you'll have digital, you'll have variant, and sometimes you got to hit that variant and then it'll appear on the screen. So it's not always like showing up automatically. Most of the time you have to, as I said, hit that tab to see the variant cover. So if you're ever ordering any Argo comics on Indie Planet, just make sure you go to that box where it says printed, because there's a drop-down menu, and the drop-down you can pick digital, but also you can click on the other cover. It'll appear on the screen, and you'll be able to see what the other cover is. Basically, it's all, again, public domain characters. It's kind of like a handbook of the Marvel Universe, or DC Who's Who. That's a Green Giant, I guess. Maybe even prior to the vegetable logo, there was a superhero, I guess. Okay, here's actually Daredevil. Because there was a Daredevil before Marvel's Daredevil. Of course, Marvel, the mighty Marvel lawyers, have the trademark on that. So now you might see him as, I think Eric Larson used him in Savage Dragon. Maybe calling him the Devil. He was in Dynamite's revival. What is that? The name escapes me at the moment, but I do have... Project Superpowers. That was it. Project Superpowers. They had, again, the Devil, I think they called him. Another company I just saw recently was maybe calling him Dare. But Daredevil was his name. And I guess you can still refer to him as that. So this is a public domain character, but you can't name a book Daredevil, obviously. Just like anyone could use Thor, but you can't have a book, The Mighty Thor. And various companies have put out Thor comics. But again, they always named it something different. Okay, now a few things came in from Antarctic Press. We always know that I get Gold Digger every month. Okay, and a lot of books I wait for trades. Gold Digger I've been getting single issues, so I'm just continuing that trend. They do have giant collections called Gold Digger Bricks, but I think I'm in too far with the single issues, so I continue to get those. Fred Perry, phenomenal artist, colorist, he does it all, and has been putting out this book. I mean, this is 261, so that's a long run. Tainted Love, I think it was a superhero romance type thing, and of course Argo 5 touches on that. So it piqued my interest a little bit in the solicits. Interior art looks good. You know, every aspect of the book looks like it's well done. Okay, some nice art. Kind of a dialogue heavy page right there, but it's looking good. So I'll look forward to reading this one when I get a chance. And I don't know if this is part of it, but Antarctic Press has started what they're calling their Superverse, which is Antarctic Press mostly put out Ninja High School and Gold Digger, various other titles. Kind of American manga was their milieu. And basically, they are now moving into kind of like a superhero type of line with Superverse. And let's see. Well, this one, Exciting Comics, which is actually a title long, long ago, kind of public domain characters again. Well, actually, I don't know if they're all public domain. It's a public domain title, though, Exciting Comics from way back. And really, the art on this initial story, Blackjack, I thought was very good, kind of reminiscent of Art Adams a little bit. I was really impressed with that. But they also have Madame Mask, who's another public domain character right there on the cover. And let's see what character this is. The Crimson Scorpion. I don't know. I believe that's a public domain character as well. So, you have 3 short stories in this. So 3 different artists, but all the art is good. Like I said, and I think it's actually, I'll say, very good. With that first story, actually, even I'll go with great. I mean, I have to say all the art is great pretty much in the book. Let's see. Show you a sample page. I have a bookmark in here because I'm in on the second story. Give you a look at the third. So you get some really nice art and colors throughout the whole book. Put my bookmark back as I will continue to read that one. We talked about Avatar before, so I think they kind of morphed into Boundless Comics because Threshold was an old Avatar title. Now we have it from Boundless. They got Threshold here and Pandora. Okay, and that's like, I don't know if you can see that. It's a Christian Zanier cover. He really does these, you can see that perspective that he draws in. He really does an amazing job with that. I mean, they put out a number of books each month, and I guess 9 times out of 10, I'll be picking a Christian Zanier cover. And I mean, the cover artists they have is a very talented roster. I mean, Matt Martin, who I followed all the way from, I think Hall of Heroes was the name of the company. And I think, did he do Snowman maybe in that one? But Matt Martin, phenomenal creator. He does covers for them. Ron Adrian, who is another artist who actually I got a pen up from. I mean, they have a whole slew of fantastic artists, but you'll find me mostly picking out these Christian Zanier covers. And luckily, he's usually doing a good amount of work in the interiors. Let me jump to Spinneret here, which I got, and then again from a Kickstarter. He's putting these out as trades, so he doesn't bother with single issues. This is volume 6. Okay, Spinneret, kind of like an arachnid character with 4 arms, which I guess makes sense for an arachnid character. And the art and colors I've really enjoyed in the other volumes. I actually met the creator of the book, Crazy Crow, over in, there's kind of like the creator lineup right here. Okay. But I met them at a New York Comic Con and really was impressed with the quality of this work and the, it looks like they have a fun story going on. They're super heroics, kind of got their own characters, a little bit of a manga slant to it a little bit. Almost My Hero Academia comes to mind for some reason, but it's not really so synonymous with that in art and colors. But there's a look at Spinneret. Did I say 4 arms? Apparently 6 arms. So, yeah, you get a great story and you get high production value and you get some interesting characters that are not like cookie cutter characters. Seem like they have some personality to them. A lot of what really comes out in Gold Digger as well. Like some Gold Digger is another one that has unique characters like that, which keeps me coming back for 261 issues apparently. This was an older book that I came across, and who knows, in all the books, you could see a bunch of boxes here, and that's not even the beginning of it. In all the books, I'm not even sure if I had this at one point or not, or have it more likely. But Luis Rivera did a pinup of Argo 5, and I've been taking note of his work here and there. And he actually did this book, one of his earliest books, Yin Yang. Now the cover is by my friend Francesco. Francesco exclamation point, not to be confused with the latecomers as of recent years, like Francesco Francavilla or something. This is the original Francesco exclamation point. He did this spectacular cover for Yin Yang, and Luis Rivera did the interiors, doing a very, very good job on that. Now, whereas the other books I was saying how original everything was, this is more filled with homages of characters. Yin Yang themselves might be a little more original than the other characters, although there have been a number of not a number of brother and sister teams actually, so they have some originality going there. But which is the one that comes to mind? One of the characters, the female, is called Panda. Forget that one, although I loved the work in that one. It's kind of like, shoot 'em up, couple of people, even Double Impact, but those are 2 women, come to mind. So a pair of shoot 'em up characters. Trying to showcase some of the art here for you. Did move the camera for this haul to try out something different. I'm not sure if the lighting is as good here to show you as one of the covers. She's like a milky white, and in the first issue, it might have been a colorist accident where the I think that's Yin, the male, was colored as African American in the first issue, but afterwards, I think the colorist was made aware that he's actually supposed to be kind of like an onyx, like a pure black coloring, which Francesco kind of got down right on the cover. But it's an enjoyable read. There's some plot twists. I'm not sure it all made complete sense in the end, but it was because there was a little bit of time travel in there that seems like they introduced a story element that they maybe didn't tie up completely. Maybe they were trying to leave it open for more issues, which obviously never came. Here's one of the covers that had all the villains in it. Including our main villain there. Nonetheless, I picked it up and have more of Luis's Rivera's art, which is always a good thing if you're friends with an artist and like to support their work. Now, I have a bunch of independent comics, which I think when some comic reviewers say, I cover the indies, this is the companies that they cover, and they are independent companies, but the books that I showed you just now are like street level grassroots indies that may or may not have bigger distribution through Diamond or anything like that. When some people say, oh, I'm supporting the indies and they're getting these books, these are kind of companies at this point. Not that the other indies aren't companies, but it's a kind of a different level of supporting indies. When you're supporting books like those that I just went over, I mean, that's going more directly to a creator. Not that these aren't, I mean, like Image, which I'm covering, those are actually independent creators and they're kind of paying in to be part of a collective and everything. This Archie, I mean, they're an indie still, but, you know, Archie, Dark Horse, it's almost like borderline a little bit. So these are like, again, still indie, but I always kind of like, anytime I see a guy's like, I support the indies, and it's, you know, bigger indie companies, it still gives me a little twinge, like, you know, there are more books out there beyond, like, you know, just what's out in mass distribution. At any rate, we had an Ironmuse cover for Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. Ironmuse, long time, one of my favorites. So I figured, let me just see what Sabrina's up to. Being that I haven't heard from her in years since the live action show went off. And I guess that isn't the most accurate representation of Sabrina. But I did pick up a couple years ago the Archie trade. Well, there was a Betty and Veronica trade that had Ironmuse work, so I had that. But the Archie trade, Mark Waid and Fiona Staples, I think, had done it. So I think I'd, you know, give some equal time to Sabrina here. Oh, maybe we should pop this open to show you interior artwork. I haven't even looked at it myself. And as you can see, it's not really an Ironmuse style in this. Let's see who, if I can find the story by Kelly Thompson, art by Veronica Fish and Andy Fish, lettering Jack Morelli. So this, I'd say, is in what I would call a modern style. Okay. One time I had someone saying my books look 90s, which for me was an ultimate compliment because in the 90s, you had the highest page rates available. So you had Adam Hughes, Terry Dodson, Bart Sears, Kevin McGuire, all these guys doing monthly books. That is the art that really speaks to me. And this is nothing wrong with this style of art. But, I just think that this is a little more reflective of today's page rates. I think they've, simplified it a bit. And, they don't get so labor intensive on the art. And it's almost like an age of writers to some degree as well. Because you'll see a number of writers who are the big names now over the names of the artist. I mean, look at Walking Dead. What always struck me for a while is that in Talking Dead, they usually don't give Kirkman enough credit. They're making like Scott Gimple wrote it or something. But at least Kirkman has made appearances, and I'm like, they've never had either of the artists sitting on that couch. I mean, the artists do contribute to how, what Walking Dead was made to be. So you would think at some point one of the artists would have made their way onto the couch on Talking Dead. At any rate, but I digress. That's Sabrina going on to Curse Words, Volume 4. So I picked up 1, 2, and 3. I think I read 1 and 2. I think we have the creatives here. No, upside down. Curse Words. Charles Soule is the writer. Ryan Brown is the artist. Ryan Brown, creator of one of my favorites, God Hates Astronauts. Okay, so he is doing the art on Curse Words. It's about a magician, or a wizard rather, who comes to our Earth, and losing his magical powers, he has to now find the magic that resides on our Earth, which apparently is more like the magic of the first time you've ever eaten a Twinkie or something like that, is what equivocates to magic in our world. So he's finding the magic that resides in our Earth to regain his magical powers. And again, that's more towards the earlier volumes, so I'm not sure what developments have led to the later volumes. You get this warrior koala actually as part of the story. He was there earlier on. Wizard is the character's name. We see his ex-girlfriend came into the story as well. So I will look forward to this. If you haven't read God Hates Astronauts, I would recommend tracking that down. Curse Words, Image Comics. I think I had something else. Yeah, I did have another one. Let's go out of order here. Because Ryan Brown was involved in this Hero Killers. Okay. From the page of the Project Superpowers, which I mentioned before, which was a public domain series. Okay, Hero Killers. I think it's more public domain, but this time concentrating on the sidekicks. And I believe, let me see here. Yep, I was right. Now, Ryan Brown, where he's not the writer of Curse Words, but he's the artist. Here, for Hero Killers, he is the writer, but the artist is Pete Woods. Okay, Pete Woods, great artist. did work for, I believe, Justice League, a lot of DC stuff. So he and Celeste Wood's doing the colors, Wood Crank doing the lettering. So again, if you get God Hates Astronauts, you got Ryan Brown drawing and writing. So he does both really well. So if you're a fan of one or the other, apparently you can get Curse Words just for his art and Charles Soule's writing, or you can get Hero Killers for his writing and not his art. So I guess he's got his hands in a number of spots. He's also done pinups for me with Argo Comics. Know him from the conventions. Apparently Charles Soule came at the table, and on my last convention sketch from Ryan, Charles Soule apparently did a little scribble on the back of my reference sheet. I won't divulge what that was. But at any rate, this again follows the sidekicks from the Project Superpowers. Project Superpowers was a great trade paperback. I mean, it was a collection. It was a maxi series, at least 12 issues. And that Project Superpowers was a great collection to read. Alex Ross covers. Really great story. So I figured I would read up on some of the other stories that spun out of that, which includes Hero Killers and this Meet the Bad Guys, which, again, we get some Alex Ross art right here. But these were one-shots that centered on the villains of Project Superpowers. Let's see, I don't see a creator sheet. Okay. So Alex Ross was involved in the plot with Joe Casey. Joe Casey did the script. Jonathan Lau is doing some of the art in here, which I believe he was the artist on the Project Superpowers. One of these issues was also done with Mike Lilly, one by Carlos Paul, and one by Jackson Hebert. Herbert. Let's see. I mean, most of it, I think with Alex Ross at the helm, most of it seems to go in the direction of a painted style almost. It's not your usual inked line art to some degree. I mean, some of it is, but it seems to almost go in a more painted. Fighting Yank, who's a great character in the Project Superpowers. But I'll be interested to read this one. Both of these. Catch up more on the Project Superpowers universe. Gemini. Okay. Is this, yeah, there's another Image. So this was a series that I think I have in single issues. They released a trade rather than dig through all my books. I figured I would just buy this and read the story once and for all. Jay Farber is the writer. John Samariva doing the art. Okay, it's kind of a bit of a cartoonier style. It seemed really interesting though when it was coming out. Again, I just never got around to it. So now I have this trade to finally just plow through it. Another Image. Stellar. Okay, I saw a little bit about this online. So I figured I'd pick up a copy of this in trade form. Okay, the art looked very good from what I saw. Joe Keating doing the writing. Brett Blevins doing the art. just a nice style overall. You know, great writing I find is few and far between. So a lot of times, if I'm really impressed with the art, then I could buy the book and I could read the story, and uh, at the very least, I say at least I have a book of art, because people buy comic sketchbooks, right? No story there. That's all art. So if you buy a comic where at least you're assured great art, then you can at least be happy that you have it for that aspect of it. And the writing could be great, and that could be a pleasant surprise. Um, yeah, this looks like a pretty cool style. Um, Always trying to give you a good look into what to expect. Okay, so Stellar, it looks like she's a cosmic character. I may have hit this right at the right time with Captain Marvel being in the theaters. And we mentioned Avatar before. So Avatar is still around, but it looks like they're closing up shop. I think they had a whole bunch of stuff uh, discounted, and I had often seen these books, but I don't think I had picked them up. So I said, let me just grab these two trades of Mercury Heat. Okay. Kieran Gillen, pretty well-known writer. Omar Francia, Manuel Lopez. From the covers, the art looked very good. And in the interiors, yeah, that same artist, I believe. So the quality is quite good in this book. I may have to move the camera back to where I was last time. Maybe I'll see something in the comments whether or not I should do that. But the art, I mean, Avatar is a reputable company. The art, colors, lettering, everything's going to be up to snuff. It's just going to be a matter of, is the story really something that I'm, crazed about? So I think that's about it for all our indie books. I did make another video for the Argo Comics channel where I updated about what's happening in Argo Comics. Argo 5 number 32 is over halfway lettered, so that's coming along. Sorority of Power number 14 is in production. Argo 5 Volume 2, which was our last Kickstarter, that is printing. So that invoice was paid, and that's printing. We did have a level on that Kickstarter that had guest starring appearances with a digital commission as well. So everyone who pledged that level got their digital commission. They were emailed the high res of that. They can use it as a pinup for their comics if they like. And we also have now the book in production. So that is another thing I got in the works. I have a number of projects that are, well, there's a few projects actually that I got a couple issues done, but they were to be put out perhaps by other publishers. So I'm not going to announce anything yet as far as that's concerned, because I'd like to see them scheduled for release before I start telling you about something and keep you waiting on it. So I think that about does it for this indie haul. Keep coming back to Comic Frontline for all your comics news, reviews, and entertainment. And please check out the Argo Comics channel, ARGO Comics. and you can see what's up with the Argo Comics line. Thanks a lot.